If you think about it, anything can be a gift.
Candlestick.
You put some wrapping paper on it.
Scuba stuff.
Randy, what kind of gifts have you been getting?
Why, Dave? Jealous?
The point is, anything can be a gift, but not every gift was actually made to be given. But Bombas socks were.
For every pair of Bombas purchased, a pair is donated to someone in need. This holiday season, give Bombas. It's what they're made for.
Go to bombas.com/comfy and get 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/comfy.
Jeff, it's going to be a hard call to make. His foot barely stepped out. Oh, it looks like the ref's ready to call it.
Make a minimum purchase of 8 gallons of gas at a participating 76 location for the chance to win one of 1,500 Pac-12 prizes. See official rules for details. Valid through December 18th. 76. We're on the driver's side.
Jeff, that call was oddly specific, but I respect it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Ever since Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested, and even previous to that, I've said that I was pretty confident that things were happening behind the scenes with the prosecutors. Now, of course, I am very skeptical of the federal government and the Department of Justice. But in this case, at this point in time, I think that they are actually taking it seriously and that this investigation is progressing in a manner that is going to cause a lot of pain and suffering to Jeffrey Epstein's associates. And I also stated that these sort of people, these rich type of folks who get involved in these sort of criminal activities are not built for this life. They're not going to sit around in a room with an investigator or an interrogator and act hard. They're not going to keep the information close to their vest. That's not what they're about. These people aren't like that. They're not going to take a 25-year sentence to protect one of their co-conspirators. That's not how it works. And that's what the FBI is doing. They are systematically going through all of these people who were involved with Jeffrey Epstein and his sex trafficking ring, and they're putting pressure on them individually, one by one, trying to get them to roll. And in this article today from the fantastic Kate Bricklet over at the Daily Beast, we hear about one of those ex-employees of Jeffrey Epstein's who is speaking with the feds. And if Adam Perry Lang is speaking with the feds, how many other former employees are doing the same thing? Let's jump into this article by the Daily Beast and see what Kate Bricklet has to say. Headline: Epstein's former chef is cooperating with the feds on the sex ring investigation. Author Kate Bricklet. Virginia Roberts clutched the letter as she traversed a California highway overlooking the Pacific Ocean. That February morning, she was en route to a Manhattan Beach home she hoped belonged to a celebrity chef she once knew. So Virginia was on her way over to a house that she thought belonged to Adam Perry Lang. And she was on her way there to try and get him to help her with her case. All of these employees that were around Jeffrey Epstein, that were there all the time, that were intimately involved with Jeffrey Epstein's day-to-day behavior, they all saw Virginia there all the time. They know the deal. They could come out and corroborate these stories. But even in Epstein's death, these people have been quiet. So they must be compelled to speak to investigators. That means subpoenas. That means grand jury indictments, if there's evidence for it. But whatever it may be, these people must be compelled to speak on what they know. A survivor of Jeffrey Epstein's sex ring, Roberts was on a cross-country mission to door-knock the financier, pedophiles, former employees after his death. She hoped these acquaintances could be witnesses now, without fear of retribution from Epstein, and lend support to her court battle with Epstein's one-time lawyer, Alan "I kept my underpants on" Dershowitz, whom she accused of sexual abuse. Dershowitz adamantly denies Roberts' claims. So basically, Virginia was on a countrywide quest to try and gain some support from Epstein's ex-employees after the fact to corroborate her story and to help out with her case against Alan Dershowitz. On this particular day, Roberts was looking for Adam Perry Lang, the chef and barbecue expert behind the Hollywood Steakhouse APL. Lang's hotspot is backed by one of his besties, late-night host Jimmy Kimmel, and community actor Joel McHale. Jimmy Kimmel is a big, fat, gigantic hypocrite, by the way. Dude gets on his show and rails and talks trash about everybody else that he considers his enemy. But meanwhile, this dude was on The Man Show, was an absolute beast in his own right, and still continues to be a stupid moron. It's a shame that him and I went to the same college. His resume includes appearances on Kimmel's Show, nods from Oprah Winfrey, and a spot on the New York Times bestseller list for his book, Serious Barbecue. But to Roberts, Lang was Epstein's personal chef and someone she considered a friend. Lang sneaked pizza to her after Epstein, who controlled the diets of women he abused to keep them prepubescent, thin, fell asleep upstairs. So, right away, it establishes that Adam Perry Lang had a relationship with Virginia, not of a devious nature, but of a relationship, one of where he would sneak her a pizza when Epstein went to sleep, or maybe a snack, or something like that. So, it's obvious Adam Perry Lang saw Virginia with Epstein. It's obvious that Adam Perry Lang saw other famous people there at the same time Virginia alleges she was abused. So Adam Perry Lang better be singing that song for the feds. Justice comes in many forms. In my case, justice is holding the various perpetrators that participated, enabled, or looked the other way accountable, said Roberts' letter to Lang, which she read aloud during a road trip with investigative reporter Tara Palmieri. Again, another reporter who's great. Tara Palmieri, if you're not following her on Twitter or familiar with her work, make sure you check it out. She is really good at what she does. The moment is captured in Season 2 of the podcast Broken, Seeking Justice, wherein Palmieri and Roberts track down Epstein's household staff who've long kept silent about the hedge funder's activities in New York, Florida, New Mexico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. I'm not here to ruin your life, Roberts read. You have so much knowledge of the various people on the plains and his homes and anywhere you would have been with him. You truly can't say you didn't know or you can't remember. And that's for sure. A lot of these people, you love to use that excuse. Oh, I don't remember. I don't recall. I wasn't that close to him. But Adam Perry Lang doesn't have that wiggle room. You were his personal chef, bro. You were in charge of making his food. You had to have been very, very, very high on the trust ladder, right? So to act like you don't know anything and you aren't aware of what occurred, that's just punk shit, homie. Adam, please don't be an enabler, she concluded. Be a hero. Be a hero to me, Epstein's victims, and the millions of children who are trafficked every day. I believe you are a good man. At least the Adam I know was. Prove me right. That's heart-wrenching, man. That Virginia would even have to write a letter like this to try and compel somebody to come forward and speak to the authorities is just mind-blowing. You would think if you were his lawyer or his chef or his valet or whatever it may be, and you saw anything that was untowards or something you thought was out of place, and you already knew the reputation of this man, that you would be ready to rock and tell the authorities if you had any information that you thought might help the case. But for some reason, a lot of these people in Epstein's circle, even after his death, are still terrified to come forward. And that just makes you wonder why. Lang's attorney, Lawrence Lustberg, said the chef is cooperating with the New York prosecutors investigating Epstein's sex ring. Lusberg also said he contacted Roberts' attorney in early March and offered Lang's assistance, but a conversation has yet to be scheduled. Meanwhile, Mr. Lang has begun a course of fully cooperating with the federal authorities investigating this case, Lusberg told the Daily Beast. He, like them, and like the victims, wants only that justice be done. All right, well, look, it's a good thing that he's cooperating with the authorities now. It's shitty that he's waited so long. It's shitty that it's taken this long for him to come forward. And it's shitty that he had to be contacted instead of him contacting them. But here we are. I wonder what sort of information Mr. Adam Perry Lang is providing the investigators with. Now, he can corroborate a bunch of stuff, right? He was on the plane. He was with Epstein a whole bunch of times. They spent a lot of time together. So I would think that this man is a trove of information. Lang echoed his attorney's comments in an email saying, "We have absolutely always been available to the attorneys for the lawyers representing the victims." Roberts, now a mother of 3, last tried to reach Lang in 2014, around the time she was preparing a defamation lawsuit against Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's former girlfriend, co-conspirator, fellow child abuser, general all-around scuzzbag, who was awaiting trial on federal charges related to his sex trafficking scheme. Roberts claims Maxwell recruited her for Epstein in 1999, groomed her, and sexually abused her, and forced her to have sex with powerful men until she escaped from the wealthy couple in 2002. Maxwell denies any involvement in Epstein's abuse of underage girls. So, Virginia reached out to Lang in 2014, and she was trying to get him to help her out with her defamation lawsuit against Maxwell. And I don't know how that ended up, right? I don't think that she was able to reach him. It doesn't say here so far in the article, but what took Adam Perry Lang so long to come forward? Is it because he was compelled to do so? I guess a phone call from the FBI will jar you into action, huh? Roberts says Lang, 51, can confirm the basics of her story. Unlike many other household staff, the chef traveled everywhere with Epstein, and Lang's name is listed multiple times in flight records for the financier, pedophile's, private plane. In March 2001, for example, Lang traveled from Teterboro, New Jersey to Santa Fe, New Mexico with Roberts, Epstein, Maxwell, MIT scientist Marvin Minsky, and billionaire Henry Jarecki. Roberts claimed Maxwell directed her to have sex with Minsky, who died in 2016. So, you were on the plane with him, Mr. Perry Lang, and you saw Minsky on the plane with Virginia, on the plane with Epstein, on the plane with all of these other people. That can corroborate her story. So what has taken you so long to come forward? 2 months later, Lang flew from Teterboro to Palm Beach with Epstein, Maxwell, and her former assistant, Emmy Taylor, according to a 2016 deposition of Dave Rogers, a former pilot for Epstein. A review of flight records show Flora Perry Lang, the chef's ex-wife, also joined some of these travels, including one 2002 flight from New York to Paris with Maxwell, alleged co-conspirator Sarah Kellen, and Epstein. So I don't want to even hear, oh, well, we're not that close, or, I was just his chef. Close enough that your wife was on these personal flights to Paris. Close enough that you were getting some of the benefits of that high-flying life that this monster was living, right? But you couldn't be bothered to come forward and help, huh? You couldn't be bothered until this huge investigation started to bloom. Rogers said Lang often stayed at Epstein's apartments on East 66th Street in Manhattan, a building where the financier, pedophile, housed women. We know that there was a bunch of girls that were being trafficked in this building, and this is where Adam Perry Lang stayed. So you don't have anything to add to the investigation, huh? You don't know a thing. I don't know. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. Everything was perfect while I was around Jeffrey Epstein. What are you, crazy? I'm pretty sure Adam stayed there at the time, Rogers testified, so most of the people that were regulars on the flight, they would stay there in the apartments. Indeed, Lang was someone Roberts wouldn't forget. He used to talk to me like I was a person, Roberts told Palmieri. Even if I was standing naked in front of him, he wouldn't be there oogling me. He would be looking directly at my face, and we had wonderful moments together. All right, look, I don't even understand why she would be naked in front of this guy. The whole entire sordid affair is just mind-boggling, and it makes me... I don't even know what to say sometimes, right? All I could do is say if it was me there, right? Or how I would react in a situation like this. I know that if I'm at a chef for some dude and there's some underage girl standing naked in front of me, there's going to be a problem, bro. A real gigantic problem. And you're going to hope that the police show up to arrest you and hope that I decide not to take out justice for myself. Because anybody who stands around in a situation like this and acts like everything is normal, they also need to get that 3-piece, because this is just, none of this is normal. None of this is normal behavior that right-thinking people engage in. According to Roberts, Epstein kept his young women on ridiculous, all-organic diets so they'd stay skinny. In those days, Roberts was tasked with putting on Epstein's socks and shoes, helping him bathe, and tucking him in bed. I mean, putting on his socks and shoes and helping him bathe and tucking him in bed? This guy acted like he was some sort of sheikh, and he had a harem, and all these girls had these different roles that they had to play. If it wasn't for the fact that this idiot escaped justice, I would be doing backflips that he's dead, because society loses nothing when somebody like this dies, right? The only shitty part is that he didn't have to face his survivors in a courtroom. But besides that, this guy, the whole world is better off that this scumbag is dead. One night, when Roberts was on Epstein's private island, she repaired to the kitchen after Epstein went to sleep. Lang agreed to make her pizza, she says. It became a nocturnal routine for them both, sometimes with Roberts helping wash the dishes. He would have the pizza waiting for me already in the kitchen, Roberts recalled. I'd jump up on the bench. We'd open a beer, which is another thing we weren't allowed to drink, but we would have a beer together and eat pizza and just talk. He just seemed like a real cool human being, Roberts added. Again, I don't know about you folks, but I'm not cracking a beer open with an underage girl and eating pizza with her in the middle of the night. I don't even understand what that even means. This is what happens when you let greed get in the way of your life. Adam Perry Lang was so hell-bent on making money and increasing his own status that he was blinded to the fact that he was also complicit with Jeffrey Epstein's abuse. Because they obviously, none of these people thought they were doing anything wrong, when in reality, they were all enabling and facilitating Jeffrey Epstein's behavior. Robert said Maxwell put a stop to these late-night hangouts. Ghislaine, being the control freak that she was like keeping an eye on us, making sure we weren't talking anymore, Robert said. Lang worked for Epstein from 1999 to 2003. After his career took off, he mentioned working for a private client in media interviews. He also discussed working on a New Mexico ranch. He did not, however, refer to Epstein by name. Yeah, he didn't refer to Epstein by name because he knew, right? Adam Lang knew the deal. He knew what Epstein was up to. Look, you're not going to convince me that Adam Lang is a stupid man, okay? I've seen his interviews. I've heard him speak. He seems to be a relatively intelligent cat. But to think that he had no idea what was going on with Epstein is just absolutely ridiculous. If he thought everything was on the up and up with Epstein, right, and thought that Epstein was this great guy, why didn't he refer to Epstein by name or say that he worked at Zorro Ranch? After his gig with Epstein, Lang helmed the steakhouse inside Manhattan's Penthouse Strip Club, as well as the now-extinct Daisy Mae's Barbecue USA, which Lang says he named after a dog on the New Mexico ranch where he learned his craft. I cooked with the cowboys, and they were so opinionated, but they didn't know what they were talking about, Lang told the New York Times in 2003. Another reference to his time on Jeffrey Epstein's ranch. And he doesn't mention it by name, right? Just the ranch with the cowboys. So I'd like to find out who the cowboys were as well. Let's talk to them. According to the Times profile, in the 1990s, Lang worked under Daniel Boulud at La Cirque and David Waltuck at Chanterelle before moving to Paris. He returned to New York in 1997 and became a personal chef for Epstein. I wonder how that happened. And I wonder who his contacts in Paris were. Did he meet Jean-Luc Brunel, perhaps? I don't know. I don't have any evidence pointing that way. But Paris sure does seem to be like a very important part here, doesn't it? Lang again referred to the New Mexico ranch in a 2014 interview with Texas Monthly, saying the property was in the middle of nowhere and between Santa Fe and Albuquerque. That description appears to match Epstein's Zorro Ranch in Stanley, where the financier, pedophile, reportedly wanted to impregnate women and seed the world with his DNA. Well, yeah, that's exactly what it means. That's exactly where it was. Okay, I was down there in February. I took the drive. Now, it's not exactly right between Albuquerque and Santa Fe, but it's about an hour and a half away from Albuquerque and about 45 minutes away from Santa Fe. The chef didn't identify his New Mexico employer. He would only tell Texas Monthly that in 2000 and 2001, he catered to one individual. And we know that that's the time when Virginia's talking about this stuff was occurring. We know the timeline matches up, so it looks like Adam Perry Lang certainly has some information that he should be sharing with the prosecutors, and hopefully he's doing that. I really hit the jackpot, Lang wrote in 2009, Serious Barbecue. According to the Broken Seeking Justice podcast, I became a private chef. A job that took me all over the world to that sprawling ranch in New Mexico. Again, sprawling ranch in New Mexico, but not naming it, not saying whose property it was or that he was working for Jeffrey Epstein. Almost like he knew that something was amiss there and he wanted to keep that under the table, right? A little bit hidden from public view. Lang didn't publicly disclose his work for Epstein until last September, when Eater published a story about Lang's name surfacing in unsealed court records related to the sex trafficker. In a statement to the Foodie website, Lang claimed he wasn't aware of Epstein's pattern of molesting underage girls. And this is where I take umbrage with people like him. You have to be really stupid to not know what was going on there. So you have this young girl, Virginia Roberts, just hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and you think that's normal? You think that's just regular behavior? I don't believe that. I don't believe any of these people, in fact, who say that they had no idea. That's my personal opinion on it, right? Could they be telling the truth? Sure, I guess. But from where I'm at, where I'm sitting, the perch I'm hanging off of, there is zero chance that these people who had intimate relationships with Jeffrey Epstein did not know what he was about. Almost 20 years ago, as a young chef, I was hired to work for Jeffrey Epstein. My role was limited to meal preparation, Lang told Eater. Well, yeah, you're the chef. What do you think? Somebody thought you were washing clothes and digging ditches too? I was unaware of the depraved behavior and have great sympathy and admiration for the brave women who have come forward, Lang's representative told the website. He wouldn't comment further. Sure doesn't sound like a man who is gung-ho on helping these survivors, huh? Another canned comment, I have great admiration for the survivors, but not great admiration enough to stand tall and help Virginia when she comes looking for you? In Broken Seeking Justice, Robert says Epstein insisted Lang memorize the names and food preferences of his high-powered guests. Several young women who we've talked to remember Lang too, Palmieri said in the episode. He had a presence in the house. All said he was very polite. And again, nobody's claiming that Adam Lang was involved in the abuse, the actual abusing. It was the enabling of the abuse, folks, the facilitating of it. That is also an issue. And these people must take responsibility for the part that they played. When Roberts began her tour of ex-staffers, Lang was her first stop in Los Angeles. Who could place these people that I was trafficked out to in the various locations, Roberts said. I was like, well, Adam can. Adam was there. Adam saw the people. Adam had to serve the people. Adam had to know their names. And she's right about that. If he had to know all of their names and Epstein was a stickler about that kind of stuff, then it's obvious that Adam Perry Lang has a bunch of knowledge here. Roberts hoped that with Epstein dead and gone, Lang might finally share with the world, or at least her lawyers, what he knew. She said that when girls in Epstein's orbit lounged nude indoors or by the pool, Lang served them with iced tea and jugs of water or fruit. He saw us naked all the time, Roberts told Palmieri. Again, bro, what are you thinking? You're the chef for this sick pervert, and all these little young-ass girls are running around naked, lounging around the pool naked with no clothes on, and you think that's normal behavior? Or did you just ignore it because of your own personal gain? Palmieri and Roberts tried finding Lang at different addresses and his Hollywood restaurant. According to reports by TMZ and Entertainment Tonight, Lang once lived in a Hermosa Beach home belonging to Kimmel. In January 2019, police arrested Lang at Kimmel's house after receiving reports of a man assaulting his girlfriend. Lang was never charged, and authorities said he was a victim of swatting or a false police report. All right, well, whatever. That's neither here nor there, I guess, and, we don't have any information on that. But I love that him and Kimmel are so close, considering Kimmel's such a loudmouth idiot. Lang didn't agree to interview with the podcast, but provided the following statement. I have profound sympathy and admiration for the brave women who have come forward and made public Jeffrey Epstein's heinous crimes. I understand the interest in the time I spent working as a chef for Jeffrey Epstein, and I am working with the lawyers representing Virginia Roberts to provide whatever assistance I can. It pains me that I cannot provide the confirmation that you seek here, but I cannot attest to what I did not witness or cannot recall. That said, I want to be clear that I never saw sexual activity or nudity and was never aware of underage girls. I was never told of nor saw any of the depraved acts committed by Epstein and his friends. I primarily spent my time in the kitchen. Any account other than this is emphatically untrue. All right, well, I guess you're a liar too, Mr. Lang, because Virginia very clearly states here that you saw her naked and the other girls naked, and you say you've never saw that. So, my friend, what is the real story? What did you really see? Lang, subject of episode 1, is just one former employee on the list of Robert's voyage. The episode also hints at 2 others for future segments, pilot Larry Visosky and former Palm Beach house manager Juan Alessi. The podcast is produced by Sony Music Entertainment's 3 Uncanny 4 Productions, which was co-founded by Adam Davidson and Laura Mayer. Boy, it must be nice to have resources, huh? Other executive producers include Adam McKay, the writer-director behind Vice and The Big Short, and Kevin Messick, producer credits for Vice and Succession, at Hyper Object Industries, and Julie K. Brown, the Miami Herald reporter whose 3-part investigation in 2018 stoked public fury over Epstein's secret plea deal. I don't listen to any of these podcasts, by the way. Not because I don't think they're good, but I don't want them to influence my work here. So after this whole ordeal is over, I'll go back and listen to all of these podcasts. But I'll tell you what, that is quite the team they have over there at that one, huh? I mean, Adam McKay is the director of The Big Short. What a great movie that was. And then you have people that work on Succession. I mean, come on, great show. Love that show. So I really don't have anything bad to say about this podcast, but talk about resources, huh? I'm sure that they do a great job over there. And at some point when this story winds down and I start going back and listening to these other podcasts, it'll definitely be on my list. Palmieri said Roberts is fearless about asking Epstein's former employees for help and chooses to see the good in people, but this was not an easy journey for her. Yeah, you would think, right? I mean, it must be really hard for Virginia. It must be super difficult for her to try and chase these people down and ask them to help her. They should do that on their own. This lady should not have to chase them down and compel them to help her. Do some soul searching, folks. Take a look in the mirror. If you're listening to this podcast and you had anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein, do the right thing and go and speak to the authorities. How can you see someone and not acknowledge their past and not help them? Palmieri told the Daily Beast. It's a lot harder to say no to someone's face. Roberts and Palmieri waited around APL for Lang, who didn't come out to their table despite their request to say hello. But days later, Lang allegedly texted Roberts and promised to contact her legal team. She was elated. Well, I guess better late than never, right? And I think it's a good thing that Adam Perry Lang is coming forward now to speak with authorities, right? It's important that the people that were around Jeffrey Epstein, even if you're not accused of any of the crimes, but if you were around Jeffrey Epstein and you saw anything, you should go talk to the authorities and give a full, detailed report, because even if you think you might not have seen anything, your view and your recollection of what occurred might provide that tip that the authorities need to make this investigation progress to the point of more indictments. That makes my entire day worth all the canvassing that we've done. Everywhere we've gone, all the doors being slammed in our face. This makes it worth it, Roberts said in the podcast. I mean, we've actually touched another person's life to the point where, they actually want to help now. Roberts imagined Lang would sit for an affidavit to tell my attorneys who was there and what he saw and try to be of any help. And that's all we can ask for from people, Roberts said. If you saw something, say something. She's 100% right with that, and that is exactly what I've been talking about here on the podcast with these enablers. There's no excuse, if you were in Jeffrey Epstein's realm at all, for you not to come forward willingly and speak to the authorities. The only people that are not going to come forward willingly, at least from the position of people who are involved or who weren't involved, the people who don't come forward and hide behind their canned statements and all the other nonsense, those are the people who are directly in the crosshairs. Because if you were innocent and you didn't do anything wrong, you would want to come forward in this case and help bring justice to those who were responsible. And if you still sit on the sidelines after all that has come out, after all that we know, then you must expect a spotlight being shined in your direction, because people like Adam Perry Lang and Larry Visosky and Juan Alessi and all of the other employees that worked for Jeffrey Epstein, they all know that these girls were there. They can all corroborate that. So these people all need to come forward, either of their own free will or the federal government must compel them to do so. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. And to those of you who have donated to the GoFundMe recently, thank you very, very much. All right, everybody, I'll be back later on.
Who are you texting?
My therapist.
You text with your therapist?
Text, video chat, call. Yep.
That sounds too easy. How did you find her?
I just went to betterhelp.com/save. She's a licensed therapist and it's all online. I connect when it's convenient for me and don't waste time driving anywhere. Plus, it's affordable.
I wonder if I should try it.
It's great to talk to someone in confidence. She's helped me sort out quite a few things. And right now you save 10% off the first month when you go through betterhelp.com/save.
betterhelp.com/save. Got it.
At Vons and Albertsons, the holidays are our favorite time of year because together we celebrate food, family, and friends. And no matter who gathers around your holiday table this year, we're here to help make it special. This week, pick up California-grown red or green seedless grapes for only 97 cents per pound. And get USDA Choice bone-in T-bone steaks in the value pack for just $5.77 per pound. Limit 2 packages. Club card where applicable. Vons and Albertsons. It's just better.